She just reminded me I was not recording. Anyway, what I find myself doing is so I feel like I should say some things again because I just started recording. So basically, I'm trying to say that the way the mentoring is designed is not such that I'm going to be talking at you. It's more going to be around, bringing out questions that we need to. I will probably give you some of my own way of thinking about them, my own way of answering them, but with the consideration that the point is not for you to take my words. The point is rather for you to take the questions. Taking the questions is more important to me because my bigger goal is for you to find the answers that make sense to the reality of your lives, make sense to what you know of yourself, make sense to where you see yourself going. Do you understand? Yeah, like I said, the principles might be the same, but I totally understand that there's a uniqueness to our journey. And the goal here is not to override the uniqueness. So you'll probably see that you see what I'm saying with time as we continue this mentorship, that you will actually have more questions than answers. And I think it's part of the reasons why last week, when a number of previous people were speaking, they spoke a lot about how they've gone back to their note again and again, because most of those notes were things they wrote for themselves. Do you understand? It wasn't me telling them what it was, more like just prodding you in certain direction in terms of, have you asked yourself questions like this? Have you thought about things like this? How do you see these kind of issues? And then you sitting down to really, really find your own answers. So today we're starting with the conversation around meaning. And like I was saying, aside from the fact that I wanted something that rhymed with everything, money, mindset, and all of that, I deliberately stayed away from using the word purpose. Could you guys give me 1 minute, please? I realize I need to quickly attend to something. I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. Apologies. I need to quickly sort out something. So I was saying that please, can you confirm that you can hear me again? So I don't just keep speaking. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, guys. All right, so I was particularly speaking about the fact that I try to stay away from the word purpose, not because I have any issues with it. I use the word, but like I was saying, one of the things I find easily is because purpose is a word that many of us use a lot, and we usually mean many things. There's a way that I noticed that using the word purpose quickly wire people in a certain direction. If I ask you what's your purpose, sometimes it feels like, you can quickly start thinking, oh, maybe my purpose is to do this and all of that. But if I ask you what's the meaning of your life, there's a way that you want to sit down and ask yourself, wait, there's a way that the question, what's the meaning of your life, sounds a little bit deeper than the question of the purpose. Does anybody understand what I just mean? Like, if I ask you what's the meaning and what's the purpose, which one will you feel like, oh, I need to think about that very well? Which one feels like that, at least in our own generation right now? Yeah, thank you. I imagine the yes is what I was saying. Yes, the meaning part, yes. Which, honestly, both of them are supposed to be saying the same thing exactly. So the reason why I'm using the word meaning is actually to pull us to actually think a little bit more, to not just give generic answers, to not just jump and quickly say, oh, I know my purpose now and all of that. Exactly. Olamide says you sit down and rethink your life. Exactly. So the kind of way that word meaning actually already, it just pushes us to think a little bit more. Is the reason why I'm using that word instead. Is the reason why I'm using it. Because generally, when it comes to the matter of purpose, depending on how you were raised, you know what? Maybe I should not ask it that way. Let me ask you guys. I'm not asking you what's your own purpose. I'm asking you in terms of generally, when you hear about purpose, when you hear people talk about purpose, when probably even you talk about purpose, what are the things we usually mean? What are the kind of things? What does purpose mean to us? Please, let's use the chat. There's something I actually want to point out. Okay, but let me say spiritual things. What do you mean by spiritual things? Please help me. What does the word purpose, why I'm here? Iberi says, why I'm here. Okay, thank you. I'm looking out for more. What would God have me do on this earth? Thank you. So about the things God wants you to do. Evelyn says, who am I? Okay, amazing. Looking out for more. Why I was created. Okay. How I contribute to the world at large. Okay, amazing. Thank you. I'm looking out for more. Why was I born? People's questions are deep. My assignment. Tolu Anime says, what you are made to do, exactly, what I've created for, personal fulfillment, the particular need I need to do on earth. Nothing else counts. Okay. Christy says career, ministry, impact. Okay. The reason for my existence. Amazing. I'm going to give us a few more minutes to just look into what we are saying. Career, ministry, impact, reason for my existence. Any other way that we think about, how do you think about purpose? That's a question I'm asking. Where one find fulfillment, my calling, okay, and all of that. Okay, thank you guys. Thank you so much. And the point I really want, I'm actually just, I asked that question because the point I was really trying to make, you guys are already making it for me. My mission here on earth, yes. Let me tell you how my own evolution of the word purpose happened. The reason for my being, okay. Let me tell you how. So initially, and I don't think this is just me. I don't think it was just me. I think it probably could be spoken of a number of people, depending on where you grew from, the kind of things you were listening to and all of that. There was a way that purpose was almost always seated around the things you can do. The intersection between my gifting, passion, and a need in the world. Thank you. And you guys can see that in the midst of some of the answers that you are giving me, it's actually, many of it has to do a lot, maybe not all, but many of it has to do a lot around the things that you're supposed to be doing in the world, how you contribute to the world, and the assignments you are made. We use different words. yes, the assignments you are made for, the mission. We use different words for it, but somebody said career impact means, but there's a sense of there are things you're supposed to do in the world, and there may be specific things that you're supposed to do in the world, and that's your purpose. For me, I feel like the question, the way I used to think about it, maybe when I was younger, based on the things I used to hear then, used to have a lot to do with more like a vocation kind of thing. So you hear things that people say that, their mission is to be a music person, their mission, sorry, let me use the word purpose is to be this, or purpose is to be that, their purpose is to be a doctor and all of that. There was a way that I was, when I was growing up, there was a way that I was very career thing. Don't let me use career, let me use vocation, so that way it can try be in anything, to be a pastor and things like that. I remember, I always still remember the dream that I had when I was a young child. That dream stressed my life out. Like, it stressed me a lot, like a whole lot, a lot. As in, my mother did not rest because of that dream. And funny, because I probably I've shared the dream in one of the emerging circle, maybe the previous emerging circle I shared it. It was very funny. I was really young. And it's funny because there's not many dream from when I'm very young that I remember, but this one I still remember it now. We were like a lot of children. I probably would be less than 10 when I had this dream, maybe 9 or yes, maybe max 10. There were a number of children like myself. We were lined up in front of one old man. I don't think I got to see the man's face. And, we were all lined up and he was giving us something. And different people, in that dream, I was able to see what he gave some other people. So for some people, he will give them stethoscope. And for some people, he can give them chalk. For some people, do you understand? As I'm even saying some of those words, what is it already telling you in your mind? If you are raised in a background like myself, so some people got something like a stethoscope, some people got like chalk, some people got like maybe dress and things like that. And a baby is laughing. It's funny to be laughing at this now, but this dream stressed me a lot when I was younger. When I got to this Baba, guess what the man gave me? Just guess. Somebody should just guess. What do you think the man gave me? Okay, nobody can guess. You see? Somebody say microphone, book, pen, plate, pen, book. Oh, Abiola, you are right. The man gave me a Bible. Yeah, the man actually gave me a Bible. He gave me a Bible. And I remember waking up and I was crying. Like, I don't want to be pastor. I don't know. I was young, but for some reason, it was just like, pastor, no, God forbid. And the reason was because my parents were pastors. What am I saying? My mom is still a pastor. My mom is a founder of a church that she has been leading for more than 20 years. My dad was a pastor. Everybody in my mom's family, all of our siblings, is either an evangelist or something. Even their eldest son, the eldest person in my mom's family is a big pastor in Ogbomoso. That if anybody knows Ogbomoso, if I mention his name, you probably know him. But a lot of people don't connect him with me because, of course, it's my mom's maiden name. So a lot of people don't usually know that I'm connected with the man. So I'm like, and for some reason, I've been close to it. So I was like, you see this pastor thing? You people used to suffer. You people, pastor equals suffering. I'm not doing. Omo, I cried, Hey, what did my mommy not used to try to encourage me that time? It was not funny. It's funny that you people are laughing now. It's funny I'm saying it smiling. But I remember that thing stressed me for long. For like long. My mother would not try to encourage me that, maybe that Bible does not have to mean pastor. It can be that and that time I used to be in choir, that it can be that you will be singing from the Bible, that maybe your own will be sing. She tries to use different things, like other things that you can do with Bible. I was like, it's a lie. I'm not doing pastor. Oh my God, it's really funny now. SA says she will go back. I wish I could go back. It was a dream. I wish I could go back in the dream and drop the Bible like, oh God, will you give me stethoscope there? Are you joking? Anyway, now it sort of gives you a sense of what I'm trying to say. So that was the way it started in my sense. My sense of purpose was, and it also depended on the kind of places I was in, the kind of things I was hearing. And then, of course, I entered in university and all of that. And my sense of that began to change. And it began to look like it was still around the things I am supposed to do, but it became less vocation themed. So it became less like, no, it's not necessarily that I should be a doc, that the purpose is not doctor. The purpose is just more, maybe help people. And you can help people in different ways. And, so the more I was going, the more I was, okay, maybe the purpose is really, help people. I was beginning to think about it more from a gifting perspective. Like, okay, for example, if I'm gifted to write, then my purpose is can be around things, is, using writing in different places and all of that. But every time there was just a sense of incompleteness. That's the word I'm going to use. That he always had for me, like, this thing that thinks about purpose only from vocation and giftings and all of that. For me, it was great. It was great, but it felt incomplete. Because what I started finding as I was growing was that 2 years later, 3 years later, there were things that I never saw myself doing, that I began to have a sense in my spirit that I was supposed to do. For example, when I was supposed to start, before I started my business, that eventually led me to eventually start one foundation, I didn't think myself as a business person. I didn't look at myself that way. So it was a little bit stressful, like, what am I? I struggled. I actually struggled to start that cake by CB business that some of people here might know about it. Because it felt like, purpose and all of that. Where is all of this inside the purpose? The same thing almost happened to me when I was going to start one foundation. When God started telling me, I need you to start a nonprofit that was going to be helping people, do their business better and all of that. I remember the question I asked God was, how does helping people's business take them to heaven? Because, my central goal is to help people get to heaven and all of that. How does, even if their business prosper on earth, how will that get them to heaven? Like, I struggled. And that was when I began to realize that, and this understanding of purpose that is very restricted to certain things that you think that your giftings, assignment and all of that. As great as they were, there was, you will get to, I felt like I got to places in my life that it began to feel not enough. As if there's another part to this thing that that I need to understand, because why is God begin to put this certain kind of things in my heart? For example, in the last 2 years when there was a lot of strong words started coming to my heart about policy and government, I'm like, comic or government, like, I'm sorry for people that don't understand Yoruba. Like in my head, I'm like, what's my business with government again? Like, I never grew up think, what's my business with government? I'm not interested. People that want to be president in their life, I was never like that. I didn't want to be president. Like, happy presidenting to you. I just wanted to have a comfortable life. And I don't know if there's anybody who understands what I'm saying. The more you are growing in your life, the more you keep feeling and see some of your definition of purpose no longer fit. And all of a sudden, it's as if there has to be something more to this whole purpose, that the way we are defining it is restricted somehow. And I feel like where everything began to fall apart for me, where it began to really, really fall apart. And I'm literally taking you through a journey, and I'm using myself as an example. Where it began to fall apart for me was when God began to, and I have to say, it was God that started doing this to me. God began to really ask me questions around, outside of all the things you are doing, who are you? What do you mean, who am I? There was a season in my life that way started coming, and all of a sudden it was difficult. Like, wait, but no, I'm this, I'm that. And I realized that I could not define myself outside of the things I was doing. Every time I want to talk about myself, I have to talk about, I'm passionate about this one. I'm like, if they hold my hand away from some of these things today, will I die? How will I think about myself? When God began to really emphasize on the issue of, being a person, to me, that was even the one that just made the whole idea of the purpose now begin to fall apart. Like, okay, wait. If all along, I've always thought that purpose is about the things that I get done. Do you understand? One big assignment that I get done. And first of all, the whole thing began to crash because there were assignments that the more I was going, the more I was finding new things that I felt called to do that didn't align with the sense that I've always had before. The more my life was going into new spaces that I wasn't thinking about 3 years ago. I wasn't thinking about 2 years ago. And then the more I started feeling as if my life cannot just be defined by the things I get done. I cannot, it's like, how do I say this to you that will make sense? Imagine someone who is a, let me use a word that we are, maybe a speaker, the way I'm speaking right now on Zoom. Imagine that this is a stage, a whole stage. But that's just a small part of my life. The question is, how am I thinking of purpose on the day that I am in my room, not speaking on that stage? That's the question. Or is my entire life just designed only for me to be able to speak on that stage? Like the remaining part of my 24 hours of that day are all meaningless compared to the 1 hour or 2 or 3 or 4 hours that I stay on that stage and speak. Do you begin to see where it began to feel like, okay, what's all this? So now I think I've gotten to a comfortable place where I can share my screen. I actually do have what I have like a presentation, but it's more like questions anyway. Give me a minute. But up until this point, one of the things I like to do is to ask, what is standing out to you? What question are you having? What are you thinking? What is sounding like something you've been thinking about? You can use the chat, please. Let me see. Let me see how we are moving this journey together. And I'm very aware that it doesn't feel like I started saying anything about what meaning is supposed to be. I'm only showing, I've always focused first on showing how many times the way we talk about it is it cannot be all that there is to it. That's my own argument. Yeah, it can't be all that there is to it. If your life is not just about the things you get done, your purpose cannot just be about the things. Even if the part of it that's about the things, if there are things in your life that are still going to do 10 years later, 10 years from today, that you don't know yet. And it's true, you don't know. Some of you here, maybe people who are even a little bit older, we understand what I'm saying. They are parts of your life now. There are things that you are getting done today that you never thought about 5 years ago. That it wasn't necessarily within the conception of what you were thinking of purpose, if you have been thinking about it in the last 5 or 7 years. Okay, I'm already seeing some chat. Okay, Olima says, outside of all the things you are doing, who are you? Yeah, Ebere, outside of the things and activity, who am I? The whole of my life is not defined by the things here. The question of who I am, I still find it difficult to answer. Yes, it's a difficult question to answer. It's a very, my sister, it's a very difficult question to answer. And that's the reason why we answer the easier ones. I feel like the reason why we don't talk about this is because it's not a question that nobody can answer it for you. Nobody can even, I'm not even sure anybody can answer it in the immediate, and whatever they give now is all of the answer that there is to it. Yeah. Okay, so let me share my screen now. I can't seem to find the difference between who I am and from what I do. That's understandable. That's understandable. Let me just share my screen and I'll continue. I don't know why my screen is not agreeing to share. Oh, okay, I see the problem. Anyway, slideshow. I'm trying to do a slideshow. Perfect. Ayodu mommy thought it was going to be microphone. My sister, it wasn't microphone, no. thinking about purpose in light of doing is restrictive. Yes, Abiola said there's more to being than just doing alone. All right. So the question I'm really asking, I have just about 3-4 questions in this call today. And the first one that I'm asking is simple, is what do we even mean by meaning? And that's what I'm already trying to answer anyway. That's what, no, not necessarily answer, more like talk about. Talk about the reason why over the years, I began to argue for 2 things. I began to argue for, maybe not 2, about 3 things actually. 3 things that I began to argue for. Number 1 is that there needs to be an humility to the way we talk about the issue of purpose, meaning, and all of that. And by humility, I mean there needs to be a sense that we know that our understanding of this thing is more journey-based than destination-based. What I mean by that is, how many of you here, let me ask it as a question, how many of you here that the way you used to answer the question of what's your purpose 10 years ago is still the same way you're answering it now? Is anybody like that? Is there anybody who their understanding of what is my purpose has not changed in the last 5 years? And by change, I don't mean that maybe you abandon what you used to believe. I mean, maybe you understood it deeper or something, but there's just a way that you talk about it and think about it now that is not just the same way like before. It has changed, yes, absolutely. And that's the first thing. That's one of my first arguments. Because I feel like those are the foundation with which we need to, first of all, start this thing. There needs to be a sense of humility. So understanding that this is a journey. Yeah. That is a journey of discovery with God. And I'll talk about the part of God with time, because there's no how we're going to talk about this that we will not talk about God. We have to. I really, no, don't let me get into that yet. Anyway, there needs to be an humility to this. Let's start from that. You need to come to terms with the fact that your understanding of these things will develop with time. And you need to be okay with that. And I'm saying it particularly because I'm aware that our generation is we like sounding knowledgeable and deep. And I'm saying I'm including myself in it. We like sounding like we know it, because in our generation, knowledge feels like power. So there feels like a compulsion in our heart to be able to feel like we know all that we need to know in every instant that we need to know it. Do you understand that kind of thing? So it's very rare for you to meet somebody that say, oh, I don't know my purpose today. Everybody wants to feel like, oh, I know my purpose. My purpose is to be right. And sometimes it's not because we have really sat down to think about these things. It's just because we cannot bear to acknowledge that, oh, maybe I'm still discovering this thing. So the first thing here is really around having a sense of humility first. Like, there has to be a sense of humility. Let's start from that. The second part of this is that the second argument, 3 foundational arguments that I'm having. Number 1 is a sense of humility. Because says she's still discovering. It's just true. It's simply true. And we need to be okay with that. We need to be okay. You need to be okay that there are things about your life that you probably will still not know until 10 years' time. Like, you don't need to feel like you need to know everything that there is to know now. Maybe now you understand why I've been calling this thing a journey. Every time I talk, I keep talking about journey because we need to embrace it. Our life was designed that way, and we need to embrace that. There's no need, this compulsion to feel like we have one kind of arrival that we have already gotten to is very unnecessary. Like our Yoruba people will say, necessary at all. It's not necessary. That's my first argument. My second argument is really around the fact that our sense of purpose cannot just be about the things we do. And I know that saying this out loud sometimes makes me look as if I'm going against the popular opinions about this thing. And it used to bother me before. Like, doing what are you saying? Are you saying people should not do great things and all of that? But the more I have thought about this and lived it out and all of that, the more I'm convinced again and again that your life has to be bigger than the things you do. That our sense of purpose cannot just be about great moment of accomplishment. Our sense of purpose it has to have space for our ordinary everyday living. Because sometimes you just need to think about this clearly. Just be honest and sit down and think about it and ask yourself. Yes, I'm sure that if you are here, you've had great things in your life. You have great celebratory moments. You've won a scholarship. You've done this. You've done that. You've done amazing things. But the truth is that more percentage of your life have been devoted to the mundane everyday. More percentage of the time of your life do you see what I'm trying to say? It has been devoted to the mundane every day. Even if let's say you are a speaker, you are everywhere speaking every single day. Even within those days that you are speaking, you are still on the road. You are in your house sleeping. You are eating. You are speaking with your friends. There's still that everyday part of your life that you cannot convince me that one does not matter, that all of that is just in service of the day that you spoke in front of the United Nations. No, it doesn't even look like, and I think it doesn't look like what make godly sense to me. Because if you understand that God does not waste things, you will understand that the moment of your life that are paramount to God cannot just be the moment when he's doing what everybody call great things in you. That the ordinary everyday makes as much sense to him as the big, accomplishing, great assignments and all of that. There has to be a space for the everyday. There has to be a space for the supposed ordinary part of your life. Because it is still you. It is still you. It's still you. And there's something I wanted to say, but I'm trying to be careful to say this. I'm trying to be very careful. One of the years that I had, 1 year, 2022 was 1 year in my life that I had a lot of back-to-back supposedly great things. Like that year was interesting. It was interesting on a whole. It was as if opportunities were opening everywhere I turned. Like I was, oh my God, it was a very interesting year. But a number of people that are close to me, I've said it to them that it was also one of my most stressful years because somewhere in my soul, I was stressed. It was a lot. Like, it was a lot. At a point, it was beginning to feel too much. It was very weird. Oh my God. And I began to realize that, oh no, life cannot be this way. No. Like it was one of the year that it was 1 year that made this thing become more cemented in my head. Before I entered that year, I've been having all of this kind of conversation and it has been making sense to me. But 2022 made this make a lot more sense to me because I found out that nobody was designed to live their entire life on the stage. And by stage, think stage as anything that you want to think it. Think of it as accomplishment. Think of it as you are everywhere. Think of it as you are traveling around the world. Think of it as you are speaking everywhere. Think of it as anything that makes sense to you, as amazing things that you want to accomplish. Nobody is designed that their entire life is just about that. Many times, it feels cool for us to imagine it until you have to live it. Have some of you been stressed by the great things you once desired? I have been. So I don't know if any other person understand what I'm saying. The very things that you were looking forward to, and then you entered it and you're like, please, can I go home? Oh my God. Like, you people, can I just go home and go and sleep? Like, I'm not doing all this. I'm not doing again. Your mom says she's even currently stressed. And that doesn't mean that you shouldn't do great things. I hope, when I talk about this, I'm always very concerned that people don't think that I'm saying, just live ordinary, don't do great things or anything like that. I don't mean that. Anybody that even knows me a little bit knows. I am ambitious, and I know that. But again and again, I keep knowing that no, my life cannot be determined only by the things that I call ambition. My everyday life has to just be as weighty in my heart as my great moment. My everyday life have to be as it began to occur to me that no, this everyday life is just as important to God as the days that I do the things that I call assignments that He gave me. And if you look at the scriptures, you find it there. Message version of Romans was talking about how you should put your everyday life before God as a sacrifice. That's what message used. He used your ordinary everyday life, present it as a sacrifice. He says everything you do as unto the Lord. Do you see? I can give you a number of scriptures that shows you that your everyday, that thing you call ordinary, just that eating and sleeping and drinking and, do you understand, chatting and all of that we do, they hold just as much weight. And so our understanding of purpose must make space for them. It must make space for them. I'm not saying you should not think of your purpose in terms of the great things you want, the assignment and all of that. But you need to understand that when God is looking at you, He's just not looking at a prophet to the nations. He's looking at Tony. Do you get? He ordained you a prophet to the nation, but He knows you by name. You know what it means for Him to know you by name? Like, he's involved in the intimate details, the everyday details, just as much as he's. Do you understand? And I don't mean to be preaching here. That's not my point. But my point is, these things are truths that are self-evident. And they are truths that are also established even within the scriptures for people who believe in the scriptures. That's my second argument. So remember, my first argument is that there has to be humility of being okay to be on a journey of discovery. My second argument, and these are my own personal argument, is the fact that this thing has to make space for our everyday life. Yeah. And you know the problem. You know the problem of our sense of purpose not making space for the everyday life. You know, one of the issues that it leads us to is that eventually we begin to stress over things that we don't need to stress over. And I'll give examples. So someone is in their house cooking for their family. You're making white rice and plantain. I don't know why I'm saying white rice. Maybe I'll be feeling like eating white rice later today. White rice and plantain and stew for your family. And your family can be maybe your husband and children. It can be your brothers, your sisters, your mom. Think of family anyhow, wherever you are in your life. And somewhere in their minds, because they are not on a poster, they think that their life is not, they are not doing anything great. And you begin to, and this thing concerns me a lot, particularly about women. It does. One of the things that God had to quickly do for me when I got married was to make me see that, I hope you know that serving your family is just as important to me as serving the world, if not more. That was one thing that God had to first of all establish in my heart, that don't fall into that trap. Don't fall into that trap where you think that the time that you spend on the domestic work in your house, for example, is time that is wasted. The time that you could have just used to prepare one great message that you go and say, or one big post you're going to go and post on LinkedIn. It was something that me personally, I had to come to terms with that. No. And that's it's kind of things that power what I was talking about last time, where I understand that, I'm not thinking of balance in terms of either or, trying to hold one or try to hold the other. I'm putting some as foundation and building the others on it. My third argument is, now let's now talk about the part of purpose that is doing. Yeah. Because there is, the truth is that I really believe there is. There are things, there are specific assignments that, and I prefer to use the word assignment, because one of the things that the word assignment does for me is that it creates flexibility. So I don't feel like I am called necessarily just to a vocation or one place or something like that. All I know is that part-time I have assignment. And the meaning of that is that the assignments can change. I can be in one sector today and in the next 5 years, I'm in another sector. It has freed my heart. Because for someone like me who has moved across different supposed industries and all of that, it was a little bit of a struggle. Like, God, every time I have a sense of doing something new, the question I used to ask, I'd go back and be like, God, please, like, people would think that I am an unserious person. People would think that I don't know what I'm doing. Like, you are doing this one today, you are doing this one tomorrow. Like, can we just stay in one place? But understanding it from an assignment perspective has freed my heart. And the funny thing is that for me, over time, I began to see how many of those things connect. They don't connect in the way people think they are, but me, I can see the connection. So speaking about particularly the assignment part, speaking specifically about that one, my argument about that one is, number one, is that flexibility, that understanding of what I have part-time is assignment. I don't lock my identity into areas of callings. Do you understand? I don't lock my identity into specific vocations. I don't lock my identity into even specific kind of giftings. And I'm saying that carefully, because I think the one that is always more difficult for people to break out of is the one of giftings. People easily say, oh yeah, I don't lock myself into area of calling. God can call me into different things. But the gifting is always a problem. So everybody that can sing think that they have to become a music person. Do you see? One of the ways that, for example, let me give you an example of how I think God began to help me to break out of this inflexibility by gifting. It was in the issue of writing. When it comes to writing was something I've always been doing since I was young. Like I've been practicing writing, like writing in terrible English, and like maybe I was like 8 or 7. I still remember cutting out exercise book and using scissors and designing them and calling them my published book. I've been doing all of those things for long. So it was very easy to quickly think that, oh, my gift, I'm supposed to be a writer, whatever that even means. But one of the ways that I began to see that the giftings are really just a tool. They are tool to do the assignment. And it will amaze you that tools can be used anywhere. I've used writing in so many different aspects of my life. I use writing in education. I use writing literally in every part of my life. So I don't necessarily see myself as a writer. Do you understand? That's why I used to forget myself that I'm an author. I genuinely used to forget, because in my head, my thinking of writing is not constrained to just, do you understand, the books I write. Is that I think of it as a tool that at every point, within every assignment that I'm giving, is a tool in my tool bag that I can use. I've used I've literally used it in different places. Literally different places. If someone I think, oh, you are writing books, you are no. In my head, it's still same tool of clear communication. I can use it in the assignment that I have in education. I can use it in the assignment that I have to helping people to personal development and all of that. I can use it in the assignment that I have in government. In fact, what literally gave me a pathway into this whole policy and government was writing. That was what gave me a pathway. Because there was no, what else do I want to go and do there? And the way I say what else, I don't know. It's not impossible that there might be other things I will have to do. But the point is that understanding that I don't even have to lock myself by my gifting. I don't have to think that being someone who has a gifting of writing means that the writing can only be used to publish books. Do you see? Because some of you have giftings that the places that you are going to use them are not going to look like the places that you know other people using them. Some of you can write, but your writing is actually supposed to just be focused on your professional writing. But you are trying to force yourself to write a book because you think because you are a writer, you must be an author. All these things, like I said, not necessary. But that's by the way. So let me revise my third argument. My third argument is the fact that even the assignments that we're given, number one, is the fact that we need to, I personally have come to see that there needs to be a sense of flexibility, which goes back to the first argument, the idea of just having humility. This idea of having humility to know that your understanding of these things will develop with time. You don't need to lock yourself up into a certain kind of identity based on what you just know now. That's first. Number two is, should I say number two? The second part of this third argument is to not decide the weight of the assignment based on numbers. And this one, I'm going to really talk about it. How do I say this? If I look like I'm struggling, it's because I'm trying to find, I'm trying to say it in a way that as much as possible, I'm able to balance it. One of the things that I had to learn, particularly last into this year, was the way God thinks about sufficiency and abundance and all of that. That God's sense of numbers is very different from our own. And that's the reason why you will see that if you check the scriptures, and I have to use the scriptures here, if you check scripture, you discover that when Jesus uses parables like the talent, giving people talent and all of that, there's always a sense with which God is not afraid to not make things equal. So he gave 1 5, he gave 1 2, he gave 1 1. But at the end, when they were done, he said the same thing to at least the two of them that did well. He said the same thing. Enter into the joy of you have done well. Enter into the joy of your. So the point is that his sense of numbers is not actually the sense of numbers that we have. And I'm saying that particularly because there's a way that we can address our sense of even assignment in terms of purpose and all of that in a way that is just really just only number driven. I'm not saying that don't watch out for growth. Please do. But you need to understand that the weight of impact many times is not based on just the metrics of numbers. I used to say to people, I've been in meetings where people were not plenty, that were like the paramount things that changed my life. I've met people who are not popular, who have made the most impact on me. If they are thinking about their life based on just the number of people they're able to reach, they might not understand the weight of the impact that they are making. The summary of this is just to be true to however you are called. Okay, now, I've said a lot of things. Even though I said I was not going to be saying things, but I've said a lot of things already. But don't worry, I'm getting to my questions. But up until this point, what is standing out for you? Before I move to my next slide, how are you thinking about meaning? Which of this makes sense to you? Maybe which of it does not? What questions do you have? Let's use the chat list. Olamide says, oh, interesting. I'm actually even saying, oh, I do want me to say it brings so much relief. I'm glad it does. Yeah. Luabumi says, don't think about the weight of your assignment based on numbers. Yeah. Oluwashe says, everyday life has to be as tangible. I like the word you use. Like, I feel like you really understand the heart of what I was saying. Yes, absolutely. Tangible, that's a word. It must carry the same tangibility to us as the supposed great days. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Amazing. Oh, really? Nega, please say hi to your husband for me. Thank you. Omowumi says the journey of purpose requires humility. I'm wondering if this is the Omowumi Oyadoyin that I know from IVCU. Olamide says, God knows you by name, not just by your calling. Yes. Yes. He ordained you at probably ordained, but he still knows you by name. Absolutely. Assignment should be flexible. Yes, thank you, Elizabeth. Oh, Omowumi, it's you. So good to have you. Assignment should be flexible. I'm looking out for more. Adiriola says you're on the journey to your purpose. You should focus more on the journey than the destination. Amazing. Don't limit yourself to a particular gifting or location. Evelyn says, okay, now you guys are rushing me, which I actually love. Evelyn says, I'm beginning to see that having different direction in line to my purpose does not mean I am mad or confused. I'm glad you feel that way. And take it from someone else who have had to do things that they did not think they were ever going to do at different times, different kind of things. You are not mad. You just need to be sure that, there's a strong sense of this is what I'm really supposed to be doing. Angela said the measurement of purpose isn't just in the great things. Every single thing counts. Every part is important. Yes. Kosi says meaning also involves what we term the ordinary. Serving my family is also my meaning. I'm currently 2 weeks postpartum. Oh, that's so good. First of all, congratulations to you, Kosi. That's really beautiful. Managing 2 little children and a newborn. What? You are managing 3 children. You are my hero, my sister. Trust me, you are my hero. And this makes sense. Everyday living matters. Yes. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Yes. And I feel like a lot more women need this deliverance. Yes. Yes. We will not measure our lives only based on our professional accomplishment because we know our lives are bigger than that. Yes. We will not think of our families as hindrances to professional goals. We will not think that way. We will know that it is joy and honor and delight to even serve our families. That is part of the things that we are here for. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. We will not leave our children to be trained by social media because we were chasing career goals only. No, we wouldn't live like that. Thank you so much for sharing that, Kose. Nneka says everyday life matter. I spend my Saturday doing chores and taking care of my home. I used to feel as if I was wasting my time. You are free now. Yes, you're free. Yes. Yes. I would say purpose is a journey. You don't have to lock yourself by your giftings. Yes. Yes. Because there are things that you even need to develop on the way. There are some things that will come naturally as gifting. There are some things that your assignment will actually compel you to learn, that they don't come natural to you, but you have to learn it. So if we define ourselves only by our gifting, we will lock ourselves away from some assignments that are ours because they don't look natural to our gifting. It's fun that you people think that I was giving microphone now, right? If I tell you that when I was growing up, I was completely public shy, many people don't believe me. Or people that went to primary school with me will know. It was so bad that I didn't used to play on the playground with other children. I didn't used to. For like my primary, maybe primary 3 to like 4, every break time, I used to go and sit inside the food seller store because I didn't want to talk to people. Who will imagine that right now? Imagine I've told myself, oh, me, I don't have gift of speaking. I have a good portion of my life today is about speaking. That's why we can't lock ourselves by just our understanding of the gifting that we know. Clementina says, stop focusing on the next big moment, enjoy the process, embrace the mundane. Christina says, purpose should not be limited to inspiration-based, it's journey-based. My question is, what do you do if every day continues to look ordinary and you struggle to find the spectacular? Please remind me about that question, you're doing, mommy. And I'm also hoping that, I don't want to be the only one answering that question. I hope that people can share their thoughts about because I think that's a good question. Because after a while, when the everyday begins to look ordinary, after a while, there's a way that you begin to think that your life is ordinary. It's true. It's true. I will not dispute. It is true. It's a real issue. It's a real issue. I will tell you what I hope to answer you with, and please remind me, is to tell you how I have been encouraged on days when I felt that way, because everybody feels that way. And that's the funny part that many people don't realize. We think, the people we think of as stars and all of that, they don't have days that they feel ordinary. No. Everybody feels that way. We'll come back to that. Thank you. Joy says, my gift is a tool to do the assignment God has given me. My assignment can change. Well, they say nobody was designed to live their entire life on stage. Yes. Nobody is designed to be inside stiletto heels with makeup on 24 hours a day. Nobody is designed that way. Eniola says, embracing your ordinary day as part of your life. I'm not living for the grandiose special day. My everyday living counts. That's what Olade says. Ebere says, is it okay to feel you haven't found a label or title that truly defines your assignment? Ebere, I'm even saying you don't need the label. That's what I'm saying. You don't. I personally think nobody needs a label. That's why bios are always very funny to me. I love them. I use them. But every time I read them, I always remind myself. And that's why my bio always changes anyway. My bio changes every time. I change it every time. Because I feel like I allow myself to live in the freedom of knowing that I can redefine whatever name I'm calling myself. So if you have not found, number one, it's okay. If you never even feel like you found them, it's okay. If you think that you find one, be open to it changing. Do you understand? I hope that answers your question, Iberim. Evelyn says, the session is healing in line of purpose. I'm glad it is. Christiana says, in journey of purpose, have sense of humility and be flexible. Kosi says, oh yeah, okay. I'm seeing. Iberi says glory. Glory with a little bit of fuming. Anyway. Thank you, God. Okay. Prissy said dreams can be ambiguous. I have tried to design my life according to my heart, which was supposedly a revelation of my purpose. The more I tried, the more it wasn't working. And I kept wondering if I was doing the right thing. The issue of flexibility is just the right word. Yes. I don't know how many of you wonder how I think about that my dream nowadays. That my dream where I got Bible. Does anybody wonder last, I'm not a pastor. I'm not. Who knows? Maybe somewhere in my life, I might eventually be. Who knows? But I'm not. I'm not. There was a time in my life when I used to dream about being a pastor's wife, which is funny because most people that I've always heard used to talk about how they don't want to be pastor's wife. I wanted to be a pastor's wife at a point in my life. But I turned out to have married a man who doesn't think that he is going to have anything in his life to do with pastorate. And anybody that knows him probably understands why, pastor is not even part of his dreams. And sometimes I used to laugh at him that what if God calls you a pastor? He will look at me, he will laugh. Like, which pastor, of which place? But anyway, to be honest, now, I actually think that I'm living that dream of being given the Bible. I think so. I genuinely in my heart, can I say I'm not in? Can I forgive you? I genuinely believe I'm living it. Yeah, I do. And I can go into plenty explanation of why I believe so. Why I believe that everything that I'm doing eventually is really about bringing the word of God to life. But I now see that, oh my God, why did I ever think that this had to mean being a pastor? Yeah, I don't stress about. I'm a yeah. You see, they have I don't want me have brought another angle. It's in a nurturer. My sister, I'm too. Anyway, thank you, God. Anyway, now the next piece I want us to talk about. There are two more things I want us to talk about before I then come to questions and answers. The first thing is, if we're talking from the perspective of meaning, there's usually an implication. If I say, for example, that a word, if I use a word, like I use, oh no, I'm trying to use a word that's all those big words, onomatopoeia. I hope I'm pronouncing this way. Onomatopoeia or something like that. And we all know that the word has a meaning. And there's a way I wanted to use this analogy that would make sense, that I hope was going to make sense to help you see what I'm about to ask. So imagine that I see a word, onomatopoeia, as I'm reading in a book, and I came to meet you to say, I just saw a new word though, and I don't know what it means. What would you advise me to do? Like, I just found onomatopoeia, and I don't know what it means. I'm trying to find the meaning of it. Iberi said she would tell me to use a dictionary. Exactly. Because a dictionary in this situation is that there seems to be like an authority that gives the word a meaning. Do you understand? The meaning of it is that the implication of having a meaning is that there's a meaning maker. Nothing gives itself meaning. Yeah, browse or check a dictionary, exactly. And the idea is that for you to find the meaning of something, you can't act that thing by itself. It's always something else, because something else has to give it meaning. And I think for me, this is the simplest way to bring God into this, in a way that doesn't even sound religious, is that even if ordinary word cannot give itself meaning, I don't think a human being can give themselves meaning. That's one. The second side of it is, if I've told you now that I've found, or I've gone to the dictionary, or I have checked onomatopoeia, and I've found the meaning now. If you want to confirm that I've found the meaning, like I really now know the meaning, how would you confirm? So you know that, oh, I've checked the dictionary, oh, I know it now. Like, I know it, baje baje. You know kind of bit of saying that I know it's baje baje. If you will ask me what's the meaning, thank you. You ask me to explain it. You ask me to tell me exactly. Right? I ask you to tell me. If I told you the meaning, and maybe 2 days later, and I'm even trying to build the story a little bit more. Wonderful. You tell me to tell you back, Abby. So I need to be able to explain it back. Or the other day, she will even ask me to use the word in a sentence, use the word in a context. Exactly. Because sometimes you know the meaning of something, but you don't know the way, you don't know the place to use it, right? So 3 days later, if I use onomatopoeia in a sentence that actually makes sense, you then confirm that, oh, truly, 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 and if I'm going to use KJV word, verily, 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 you know the meaning of the word. I want us to use that same analogy. There are two implications that I think that having a sense of, thinking of your life from a meaning perspective, purpose perspective does. Number one is that there's always a meaning giver, a sense of authority that actually can be trusted to give the correct, accurate sense of the meaning. And that's where God comes in here. And to be honest, I am aware that different people are here with different understanding of God and all of that. But I genuinely don't know how anybody does it without it. I don't. I genuinely used to wonder about that sometimes, because I don't know. Like, even with God, this life is a lot. then I really wonder the person anybody that is doing it without going, I'm like, you have to have chest too. You have chest. But that's the point. And this is the easiest way to bring God into this conversation without being sounding religious. It's just that there's no how we want to talk about meaning. Yes, you can give yourself any kind of meaning. I can decide that onomatopoeia will mean a red shirt, and I start using it as a red shirt. It's fine, but it doesn't change the fact that that's not what it means. There's an authority that determines what it means. That's where God comes in. Number two is having a meaning and saying that you are beginning to know the meaning places a demand to live out the meaning on you. Just the way saying that I know the meaning of onomatopoeia then begins to require me to be able to use it in a word, to be able to explain it to somebody else, right? Which is the real evidence that I know it. So what I'm trying to say here is that there are two things it implies. When we talk about meaning, it implies that there's someone that gives meaning. And then there's a demand of actually enacting the meaning. I use the word enact because I couldn't find a simpler word. There's a demand to actually begin to live out the meaning. There's a demand. So, and this is why this is always funny, because sometimes I feel like our conversation on purpose is always just very philosophical. You know, we are talking about it in meetings and conferences, but we don't ask ourselves, okay, so what will this now look like in my life? As I'm leaving this meeting now, what does this mean? How do I live this sense of meaning? So we are talking right now about how your meaning is supposed to be bigger than just the things you do and all of that. Even if you are doing great things, you know, you should have a sense of flexibility and blah, 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 like that. The meaning, the implication of that is it places a demand of actually living those things out on you. It places a demand. There's a demand of how does this now work in real life? How does this work? And remember, my goal here is just to leave you with the question. It's not necessary to answer it for you. Is all of these amazing things that you're saying you are learning in the chat, the question is, how does it now work? How differently will you see your daily life if you begin to really make space for it within your understanding of purpose? Those are the kind of questions you need to be answering. How differently will you see, someone like Kosi was talking about it, how differently will you see what it means to take care of your family? How differently will you see even the assignment that is in your hand that looks as if it's too small? How differently will you see? Do you understand? Because it places a demand. This conversation is not just to have a nice conversation. It is really to realize that it means we have to now live a certain way based on what we say we know. We say we know the meaning. And I hope that you already know when I say that we say we know the meaning. I don't mean it from the perspective of, oh, this is the meaning of my life. I've already talked about the fact that this is flexible. But a number of these things we're even talking about is already in line of that. So part of the assignment that I'm going to give you guys this week will be to come and describe up until this point, what do you even know about yourself? And some of you will probably have to do a bit of taking time out. If you're a believer who understands the part of God and all of that, pray about it. Like, the question is not, what's my purpose? No, is that up until this moment, what do I know? Yes, there might be a lot more that you are still going to review, but what do I know up until this moment? What did I need to know up until this point? What understanding do I have in my hands now about who I am, the kind of life I'm supposed to live, how I want to conduct my life and all of that? Sometimes you need to, re-establish it again and remind yourself of it again. And remember what is important to you again and again. Again and again. Like again and again and again. And we particularly need it in our own time that is extremely noisy. Like I recently started asking myself some questions about WhatsApp statuses and all that. And I was like, this is too much knowledge about too many people's life for me. was just a personal thing. I was entering a point where I was just tired. Like, this is, like, I don't need to know this much knowledge about this many people's lives. Like, I can literally stay away a bit. Like, I don't need to know what's happening in your life sometimes. It's too much knowledge, too much that it's taking the space that I'm supposed to use to think about my own life. And this is what I'm trusting you to at the beginning of this of this our mentoring together, because everything starts from here. Everything. And that's why I always make this the first module. I don't want us to just jump into where do you build your career? How do you begin to do something without talking about this first? Because I personally know I don't want to pursue a meaningless career. And by meaningless, by now you already know that my meaninglessness does not mean that you are not achieving great things. No. It's that deep down in your heart, there's just a sense of disconnection, sense of undue stress, unnecessary stress. There's just a way that it doesn't give you a personal sense of this is what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. No, I personally know that. And so as we're going to continue in the mentoring, we're going to talk about other things. We're going to talk about mastery, talk about marriage, or I'm going to talk about this other part. You all have to first of all boil down to this personal sense of what does all of this even mean for me? Like, what do I know about my life? How am I thinking about it? I don't expect you to have all of the answers. I'm just saying, what do you know what you know? Like, actually bring it back and say, what do I know about my life right now? What do I know? How am I thinking about my life right now? And remember, if I'm coming from the perspective of the one who gives meaning, over the years of growing, if you're a believer and you're someone of faith and all of that, growing in faith and all of that, and, having a relationship with God, what have I come to see? What have I come to learn? And how am I living it out? But I'm going to reemphasize some of the things I've said before in terms of how do you find it? How do you enact it? I already mentioned some of these things before, but because I still have them on slide, I'm just going to mention them again. So there are two things. There's the fact that there's a meaning, right? You have there's a sense of meaning. There's a person who gives it, and there's a way of finding it and enacting it. When it comes to the finding and the living out, because as you're finding, you're living it out. As you're finding, you're living it out. Remember, if you know the meaning of onomatopoeia, you use it in a word. If you know the meaning, you tell us the meaning exactly. These things actually, they are locked into each other. They are very locked into each other. Very, very locked. That's the truth. And maybe I should speak about that a little bit. I realized that there's something that I should talk about. Because sometimes I realize that there's a tendency to want to detach them, to want to say, oh, right now, I'm just discovering my purpose. Right now, I'm living out my purpose. I don't think it works like that. I think it actually works hand in hand. Because some of you will be able to attest to what I'm about to say, that it is the more that you follow the inclinations of who you're supposed, the kind of person you're supposed to be, the kind of things you're supposed to do, and all of that in your heart, that you began to understand them even more. Does anybody understand what I'm saying? That the more maybe there was an assignment that was placed in your heart and you did it. When you did it, part of the things that happened to you is actually a stronger sense of the kind of person you are. Yes, thank you. Thank you. It's one of the reasons why I put my energies into doing whatever my heart has found to do, because sometimes it's not even about the people I'm doing it for. And that's why I really don't think purpose is just about, the assignment, the people who are, it's also about who you are becoming. It's also about who you are becoming. Every time that I have gone out, personally, in my experience, every time that I have gone out to put into action, maybe a sense of assignment that I received or anything like that, one of the things I reap back many times is a stronger sense of who I am. It happens all the time, all the time. It almost brings me into almost a redefinition phase. So maybe something I've always known gets stronger and more established in my consciousness, or something I never knew before. And all of a sudden, it began to dawn on me that, oh my God, do you know you actually have this kind of assignment? Even, yeah, it happened to me again and again. So it's one of the reasons why my understanding of even the things that I don't do them just in this, I'm doing it for people and all of that. I also understand that there's a way that it establishes me in the sense of, this is the kind of person that I am. This is the kind of, do you understand? This is the kind of life I've been called to. And that's why I feel comfortable. Oh, Oluwako, let me say she doesn't get. How do I say this again? How do I say this again? So let me give you an example. Let me give you a quick example. Earlier in the year, entering into the year, there was a certain name God began to call me. There was a certain name that God began to call me. And he began to say some certain things to me that was really interesting. They were wonderful things, but in my head, I was like, okay, God, how does all of these things, what they mean and all of that? And I remember that one of the first things that was put in my heart in the beginning of the year was to do the Early Productive Summit. I don't know how many persons know about it that time. And I remember doing the Early Productive Summit. It was the first time doing like a productivity event that was thrown out. I've always, all of last year, I was really just doing productivity coaching for individuals, like one-on-one coaching and all of that. But it was the first time I just had a sense. And it was a little bit of struggle because I feel like people already know I do education, entrepreneurship. So when I'm going to be talking about productivity again, they'll just think I don't know what I'm doing. Remember, the whole flexibility thing. And I remember when we're done with that meeting, a number of people who attended sent me a message, send me messages to, describe their experience, thank me and all of that. And I remember a number of some of those messages, particularly one that was saying something that it felt like the person knew the name that God was calling me that. It was very funny. And I remember sitting there, I was like, oh my God, this is the kind of, like, this is who I am. Like, God is really calling me this name. I need to, if this person experienced this program and it sort of made them think of me this certain way, which is not, they just think they were telling me something, but it was aligning with what I'd written down, all of that, this year God is calling me this certain name and he needs me to function in this certain way and all of that. And the person was just talking and was saying something like that. And I was like, oh my God, that was so powerful. It sort of reestablished it in my heart. That's a small example, and I hope that makes sense to you. But the point is, the more you find what you are calling your purpose, and by purpose, I mean, in terms of the things you do, the way you conduct your life and all of that, the more you do according to what you know about who you are, the more you actually have a stronger sense that you are that person. That's what I mean. So, for example, let me use another example. If in your heart you have come to terms and you are super convinced that you are a person of peace, which is funny because we usually don't think of being a person of peace as part of our purpose. How many person says, oh, my purpose in life is to be a person of peace? Many of them, we just say, my purpose is to be an apostle to the nations. But a person of peace is part of, you see, that's why we need to think about this purpose a lot more comprehensively than just the things we do. But let me use that peace person example. If you think in the sense that, part of who you are at the core of your soul is to be a person of peace, and you allow that to influence the way you handle situations, handle people, approach things that happen in your life. The more you do it, the more you are convinced that you are it, the more you are it. But please let me know if you understand me now. It was you I was particularly trying to re-explain it for. Yeah. By the way, I should say that I'm aware right now. I am very aware. Yes, you get me. Thank you. I'm very aware that in the midst of all of these things, I have not necessarily said your sense of purpose should be a certain way. And it's deliberate. It's not a mistake. Oh. It's not a mistake that I've not told you to think of your purpose from, oh, what kind of assignment are you doing? I'm leaving all of that to you. My goal is not to help you determine your purpose. No. My goal, like I said, is to help you ask the right questions and ask even that purpose question in a way that allows you to be true to who God has made you. That's my point. So you still go back and ask yourself, how am I thinking about purpose? What are the kind of things that God has, that I feel that I'm called to do? What are the kind of assignment that I see myself doing right now? And you know in your heart that whatever you are saying right now does not have to be all that there is to it. You will say and start that question. You ask yourself questions like, what kind of person am I? That outside of the things that I do, how do I think of myself? Let me give you an example, because I know a number of people have been struggling on how to answer that question. Let me tell you one of the ways I answer that question. One of the ways that I answer that question for me is that at the core of my person is a heart of service. This, and trust me, this one, it's been something that it took me years to establish. That's the truth. I used to tell myself that at the core of my person is a heart of service. At the core of my person is a heart that just wants to serve God. You know, serve family, serve the world. The action of it is separate, but just the being of it, that at the heart of my person is, yeah, that's the way I like to say it to myself. Like at the heart of my person, there's just this heart of service. Part of the way I answer that question to myself is that at the heart of my person is just someone who loves God and wants to continue to experience God's love. Yeah, it's part of the way I answer that question for my own self. You don't have to answer it that way. I'm just giving you an example. One of the way I answer the question to myself sometimes is that the heart of my person is someone who wants to genuinely enjoy their lives. And I know that does not sound like a purpose answer, but trust me, for me, it's a big deal for me. It's a big deal. Like, I have come to terms with the fact that at the heart of my heart, at the heart of my heart, of my heart, of my heart, of my heart, I don't want to be a great, miserable person. Like, I don't know how to say this thing better than the way I'm saying it. Why? Like, I've come to terms that at the core of my person, there's this genuine sense. There's this genuine desire to live a life that I genuinely enjoy myself. And anyone who probably you might understand what I'm saying, you might not. My point is not necessary to explain it to you. Like, at the heart of my no, like this one, you see the way I'm saying that, if I'm preaching, to tell you how important it is to me. It's very, oh my God, it's very important to me. And that's why I cannot deal with living a suffering and smiling life. I can't deal. I cannot. I don't have the capacity for it. That inside my corner, I'm actually suffering, but outside I'm smiling and doing, oh, my life is great. I cannot. Oh my God. And it's not trying to be, I can't do it. I don't have the capacity. If I'm frustrated, you will know. If I'm frustrated, like anyway, don't let me go into it deeply. And so some of this way that I think about who I am in terms of my being also influence the way I go about the things I do. So that way, I try to, even the activities, the assignment, I try to design them in a way that allow me to be true to all of that. So I will not do a program that I don't feel, maybe I want to do an event, I want to do something that the core of what I'm trying to say in the program or the event, all of that, it doesn't feel true to me. It will now feel like, I'm saying something else, I'm leaving something else. I can't, yeah, that's the way to say it. I can't do it. Not because I don't want to. Do you understand? It's not as if I don't want to. It's that the way I've allowed myself to be who I am, I don't have the inner capacity to do that anymore. So I would rather just leave it. I was mentioning to, I don't know what I was mentioning it to, if the person was here, that at the beginning of this year, I was writing a third of, is it third? I've been a fourth book now. I was writing a book and I'd gone to some extent. I think my EA would know this. I'd gone to an extent, like I'd written up to 7,000 words and all of that. But I got to a point where something was just off. The things I was writing was great. I know it was great, if I can say so myself, if it doesn't sound proud. But I got to a point where something was off and I had to begin to wonder, like, God, why am I struggling? I knew that I could quickly say, oh, no, I will push. But I've learned not to just say push. Like, there has to be a reason why I'm struggling. Like, God, is this just is something that I'm supposed to push through? Or is this saying something to me? And after a while of thinking and meditating and praying about it some days, I realized that the issue I was having was that there were some things I was trying to describe in that book that I don't feel like I had enough life experiential evidence for it yet. I know they are true in my heart, but I felt like I needed time to see them proven in my life a little bit more. I've seen them proven to some extent, but I needed time to see them proven a little bit more so that I'm establishing the truth that I was about to teach. I stopped that book. I prayed about it and I was like, God, I began to like, God, I think I see what is happening here. There's a way that I will not be able to put my weight behind this book. And I was like, God, I can see, I see what you're trying to say to me, that this thing still needs a little bit more years of experience. So I'll leave it. And I left it. The book is still in my folder. And later, this happened around middle of the year. Later at the end of this year, in recent time, I was thinking about it, I was like, oh my God, because some things that I'm experiencing, I'm like, oh, it makes sense now why I had to stop that book. Because there are some things that I am learning from experience that is confirming what I was trying to say, that if I'm going back to that book now, there's a way that I'm going to write it, that it will be true in my heart, not just true on the pages of the book. If anybody understands what I'm saying here, can you please let me know if I'm not speaking beyond what you understand? Does anybody understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Thank you at least. Because part of, at the core of my heart, there's a need for truth. Yes, that's the word I should use. And by truth, I don't just mean I'm speaking truth. Is that there's a genuine attempt that the things I'm saying and the things I'm doing align. I don't say that, of course, it always aligns. Sometimes, of course, there are things you are doing, like, this does not align with what I actually even say myself. But there's a genuine attempt. It's very important to me. Like, it might not be important to someone else, but it is to me. It's part of at the core of my person. That it doesn't matter wherever you move, the things I do. These ones will always be true. Someone is saying she understands what I mean by the person of peace. Oluwase, I think you should really, really keep that understanding. It's powerful. And when we think about purpose, we don't think about some of these things, but they are important. They're important. My mentor used to say, and if I mention, I know probably everybody here knows that. I don't know if people hear that, but me, I hear it because I feel like most people just know about the wonderful, great thing that she does. We should talk about how one of the things that she knows about herself, that she has come to terms with, is that she's a person of love. that our operating system to everyone is love. And I've seen her display it. So it doesn't even matter where do you understand? Things, the activities can change, but there's a sense of who you are. Like at the heart that powers the things that you do, that you must get familiar with, that you must know how you were designed. That's why you see, have you not wondered that they will say somebody came in the spirit of Elijah? What does spirit of Elijah mean? It's a spirit of a kind of person. It's not just assignment though. Hope you know. It's a kind of person. A kind of person. But many times when we think about people, we are not thinking about all of those kind of things. And when you don't, sometimes what's the word now? You push yourself in ways you're not supposed to. And then you begin to enter into spaces that you are doing great work, but you feel disconnected from the core of your person because you're not even familiar with it. Anyway, I've gone into places that I didn't plan to. I think of my name Joy into spaces. This activity doesn't matter. It was intentional. Yes, absolutely. 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 You bring joy into spaces. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. There's some of the things that, we need to pay attention to. Like, if you have to, that's why every time we ask this question about emerging, I used to ask people, if you have to describe yourself outside of the things that you are doing, how will you describe yourself? But you find out, the example I just gave now with the book, you see that eventually who you are at your person is actually supposed to influence the way, even the things that you eventually get to do. That's how you build a connected life. A life that, I keep saying this, and sometimes I feel like people, sometimes I fear that people might think I'm just being philosophical, that I'm just sounding idealistic. I'm not. That there should be a way that you design your life in a way that is true to you. This thing is true. I'm not just trying to sound deep. It's not about sounding deep. This thing is true. There's a scripture I love a lot. I think it's the Message version of that scripture. I can't remember what that scripture is. I know it was yours that said it. And it was talking about how it will help you find your true self. I really wish I can find it right now. But I remember seeing that scripture, and it always makes so much sense to me. That there's a kind of way that you are designed. I know that at the heart of my heart, I don't even necessarily think of myself as a person of peace in the sense of, I like to follow peace with all my mind. But I know that at the heart of my heart, I cannot function in dramatic places. I can't. Hey God, some people have energy for it. I don't. And this is one of these things have guided my friendships. That's guided my friendship a lot. Like, as much as possible, I stay away from drama-prone people. And when I say stay away, I don't mean that I don't talk to them, but you cannot be in my close circle. Drama-prone people, because I know that you are going to always be bringing materials that will not allow me to be me and will not allow me to be able to function. So I will stay away from it. I will keep you outside as much as possible. And as much as possible, even with I work with my friends, I try as much as possible to be drama-free. We will fight. Yes, let's fight. Let's cry together. But I will be keeping malice with each other. I am not going to do it. Remember one of my friends, we had it. I would like, call me, tell me what I did. Let's cry. It's on that call. She told me all the things. I was so sorry. I didn't know you felt this way. We cried together. It's better that way. I will not have, because I know I can't. Yeah. Ibrahim says, when the word I resonated about thinking myself is rest. Yes, you people are still going to do all of this in your assignment. You ask yourself, how do you describe yourself? What are the things that you have seen at the core of your person? Who are you outside of the things that you do? And of course, also, what are the assignments that you've seen yourself pulled into? I'm not taking the assignments part away. That's not the point. Being here like this, even having this conversation with you, was assignment for me. I hope you know. It was assignment for me now. Doing this mentoring itself is assignment for me. So I cannot be speaking against assignment. Do you understand? I don't think the issue here is not about, it's about understanding that there has to be an expanded view to this. There has to be an expanded view. Okay. Everything is live. Okay. All right. So let me move. So I just wanted to remind you, as I'm going to be closing off. Let me see my time. Oh, whoosh. After 6 minutes, I didn't even realize. So I'm just reminding you that when it comes to finding and enacting your meaning, you have to understand that there's a journey. I'm just reiterating some of the things I've said. The fact that this is a journey. So there has to be an humility. But the point of the journey is that you also need to be aware. You cannot just be sleepwalking through the journey. If you are saying you are in the journey, you have to be aware of the journey. Three things I wanted to say. There's a journey, there's a vehicle, and there are anchors. Sorry, let me just say that. There's a journey. Our understanding of meaning, our finding meaning, our, living it out and all of that, itself is a journey. There are things about you that you don't know yet. There are things you're going to do that you don't know yet. But the ones that you know, do you understand? Know them and do them. The ones that you know, be really aware of them. Don't let them just be at the hanging on your head, on the peripheral. No, do the work that you need to do. Invest time, retreat, and all of that. Stay in a place that help you really know these things. The vehicle is, what are the pathways? I've already talked about the vehicle. One of the vehicles that I feel like has been abandoned for a long time is the vehicle of the everyday. I really think that when we start thinking of our meaning from the perspective of the everyday, understanding that the everyday life is actually part of the vehicle with which we convey our meaning, it changes. If you see that God has given you the assignments to I don't know, let me find the word, to preach the gospel, you cannot just be thinking that assignment is just to have a crusade like Rhea Bonken to preach the gospel. It actually has to also mean the person you meet on the everyday, the one that came to your house, the one you met in the bus. You have to think about it that way too. Do you understand? And then the anchors. I think the reason why I put the anchor here is this, is when we talk about journey, there's a way that we can quickly begin to think that, oh, it's a journey, oh, we don't know it, oh, so we don't know where we are going, oh. There's a way we can think of the journey as if we don't know where we are going. Do you understand? Like, it's a journey, oh, So it just means that we allow everything that happens in our life to just happen. But we need to understand that, let's say, for example, if you say you are going to the east in Nigeria, eastern part of Nigeria, like you're going to maybe like Cross River, but you don't know exactly where you are going, but you have a sense of it, right? If as you are going in the car, you begin to see deserts, what does that tell you? You are going to east or southeast of Nigeria. But the more you are going, the more you are seeing no more, there's no trees again, it's beginning to look desert-like. What does it tell you about the journey? Ebere is laughing because Ebere is from those areas. So she already knows how ridiculous what I'm saying sounds. But Ebere, maybe you are the one that will help us. What does that tell you? Somebody said that they are going to the east. I was like, Ebere, I'm coming towards your side though. As we go, you have missed road. Because you cannot be going to east and be seeing desert. My sister, you're on the way to the north. You are going to Sokoto. You're already lost. The point is, journeys have anchors. There are things you begin to see that tells you, oh yes, you might not exactly know the exact point that you are going, but you're on the right path. Do you understand? You can tell. That's what I mean by anchors. There needs to be things about your life that you are seeing in your experience. Yes. Oh, sure. That's fine, Esther. No problem. It's fine. I'm actually already rounding off. But the point I'm making with the anchor thing is that there needs to be things that you are seeing in your life. There are things that yes, let me say it that way. And I'm explaining that a little bit too. That shows you that, yes, I'm on a journey, but the path that I'm taking, it sounds like the right path. Do you understand? Yeah, this already giving, oh, I'm going the right direction. There needs to be things like that. There has to be anchors of for me, I was giving the example of connectedness, of leaving this call, like I said, now leaving this call when I leave you guys now, and going back and thinking through the things I've said and seeing that truly, these things are true. I believe in them. Tomorrow when I think about this program, it is giving me a sense of I am doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Those are anchors. Do you understand? That yes, I don't know what I'll be doing the next 5 years, but this one that I'm doing, there are things that are happening because of them, that are happening in my own heart, in the way I see the world and all of that, that is giving me a sense that truly, I'm going the right direction. The point here is that you need to pay attention, because sometimes the only way to know if you are going the right way is to be looking at the side, like, okay, I said that I'm supposed to be doing this. You said God said you should write a book, right? And then you started the book, and through the entire process of the book, you were frustrated. You were feeling up and down, upheaval. You were helter-skelter. You were overwhelmed and all of that. You need to sit down, ask questions. You don't just say, oh, I think, I'm supposed to be writing book. No. It's probably telling you something. Do you understand? That maybe the whole idea of writing book was not necessarily what you're supposed to be doing, but you understood it because you had a gift of writing. So you thought writing meant I have to author a book. Do you see what I'm trying to say here? And that's why we need to be conscious participant of our lives. Active participant, let me use that word. Life should not just be happening to you. Should be asking questions. You said, do you understand? Okay, you said you have this assignment too, but every time you are done with that supposed assignment, every time you do it, you feel a strong sense of sorrow overpower you. Something is wrong. Ask questions. That's the point. Those are anchors telling you, alarm, wrong direction. Because we are all prone to wrong directions. That's the truth. We all are. The problem is not even necessarily if you are going the wrong direction. It's if you are aware. I've learned over the years that God is not afraid of our mistakes. He's not. Because he knows he has the power that can redirect us. The only issue is if we are attentive and aware enough to be redirected. That's where anchors come in. And to be honest, one of the things I found, one of the easiest things that I found that God uses as anchors is that understanding of who you are. Because most of the time we think of purpose in terms of the things we do, right? One of the ways they used to redirect you is that you'll be doing great things, but you keep feeling a sense of misalignment to something about you that you can't place your hands on. If it has happened to you before, you will know. That, you did the book launch, it was wonderful, but something felt amiss. You couldn't really touch, you think you're supposed to create a community, so you are doing it, but somewhere, you don't know, something is just not right. Ask questions. That's the point. Ask questions. Okay. We have questions, please. I think I already had one question before. Yes, ability like a big waste of time and resources, exactly. Ask questions. They are anchors. Pay attention to the anchors. That's my point here. And that was just it was not necessarily a strong sense of this thing, but it's a by the way. It's a way of redirection. Because I don't think the fear should not necessarily be that we should not go in the wrong direction. Sometimes we will. But the point is that we should be such that you don't go too far before you can be redirected. Do you understand? They can quickly call you back quickly, fast. And this thing happened to me. Even funny enough, it happens to me even within supposed assignment that I'm supposed to do. I'm telling you. when we're planning for emerging women, this particular emerging circle, this particular cohort, there was a time I was saying it to my EA will be a witness to this, and maybe my circle director, Moni. There was a time I've forgotten what even happened. That all of a sudden I just started feeling a strong sense of misalignment. Moni and Ken, did you remember this conversation that I had with you guys? I just started having a strong sense that something is wrong. It was just a like alarm in my heart, like something's wrong. It was funny. I just started feeling a strong sense of something is wrong, something is wrong, something is not right here, something is not right here. I had to go and pray like, God, what's happening? God, if you want me to shut this down, I can shut it down in 1 minute. I don't mind. And then I started realizing that, it was like, no, the problem is not that you're shutting that, is that you are thinking about this in this is what I want you to do, but there's a way you are thinking about it that is not in line with what I wanted you to do it. I was like, oh, so it began to show me like, okay, this and this and this. I was like, okay, so this particular quote is supposed to be like this, not the way we did it the last time. Okay, thank you. Happens to me all the time. Productivity summit that we're planning right now. Something happened just recently, like that. It was just a sense of misalignment, like something's wrong. And I was like, okay, God, why am I feeling like I've just done something wrong? And then he told me where the issue was. I was like, this and this and this, go and remove it. And then we went to remove it. That's the point. My point is, be that kind of active participant where the issue is not, you cannot go wrong, is that you can easily be called back. They can put you together faster. Yeah. Anyway, that was by the way. That was by the way. Okay. All right. Okay, I'm going to just take 3 questions. I think we already had one question ahead, which was, who was the person asking that question? Ayodu Mommy. I don't think she's here again, but because we are recording this, I'm going to still answer it. It says, my question is, what do you do if every day continues to look ordinary and you struggle to find the spectacular? Number one, you need to understand that no matter the spectacular that are happening in your life, you will have days where every day feels ordinary. We underestimate how easily big things begin to look ordinary to us. How many of you have experienced the things that you thought was going to make you happiest in your life, and 3 months later, you are looking at that thing and you're like, yeah, that's okay, but we move? How many people that the things that you were so thinking that, oh my God, only if this thing happened in my life, I will be so glad for the rest of my days. That exactly. I used to remember that time it used to be first class for me. Like, if I make first class, first class. Or how many times have I even remember that I make first class now? Who the first class help? Oh, please, first class help. Oh, but you get my point. So first of all is to understand that it is not the ordinariness of the day that makes us feel ordinary. It is just the fact that we are designed to, the word is not design. We have tendencies is the right word, to always eventually feel that way. So when we start from the understanding that we have the tendency to feel that way, it changes the way we are thinking about it. So you know that sometimes the way you are even the feeling of ordinary does not necessarily mean that your life is ordinary. Then number 2 is, sometimes I ask myself, what are we calling this ordinary? Sometimes we need to question, what are we calling the ordinary? You woke up, you ate, you drank and all of that. Is that what we're calling ordinary? How do I say what I'm about to say now? And I don't want to sound like all of these, says each other, say, you should thank God that, you woke up, your hand is working, your leg is working, some people's leg is not working. But sometimes you probably need to think about that. Some of the things that you call ordinary, are actually things that if you're in a whole different situation, you'll be praying for. I remember, I think I was sharing this on my WhatsApp status. I remember reading the book Fame by Karen Kingsbury. Anybody that have read it, you probably know what I'm talking about. And coming to appreciate the gift. I didn't realize it was a gift until that time. The gift of being someone who can enter a place and no paparazzi is running after me. Yeah, that's something that we can call ordinary. But for people who have to pay who have to pay a lot of people to help them look anonymous, you will understand that entering a place where nobody knows you and nobody cares about you in itself can be a gift. The point is, ordinary is very relative. And that's why we need to understand, we need to fight the heart of why we are feeling ordinary. It's not our lives that make us feel ordinary. It is whatever is happening in our heart, and that's what we need to address. That's my point. That's my point. Second question by Olai, they say, I wanted to ask, what do you do when you experience discouragement or lack of flow during an assignment? Could it be that it's not time yet, or what could it mean? I don't know. You will have to ask. Because that answer is, there's no generic answer to it. Every single time you have to ask again. And that's one of the things I have learned as a believer. Is not to assume. Because the God that told Moses to eat the rock and water will come at the last time, next time told him to speak to the rock. So every time you have to go back and ask. You have to go back. You're having an issue, you feel somehow, go back and go and ask. Like, God, is something going wrong here? Am I doing this at the wrong time? So this question is a question you always have to go back to ask. That's my point. It's not a question that somebody can give you a general answer that you can apply all the time. Yes, you always have to go back to ask. You always have to go back. I think you always have to go back to ask. And be open-hearted to whatever you hear. I hope that helps. So Oluwase is saying, for someone who's always scared of taking big step, is it okay to keep going in the midst of mixed feelings and emotions? My sister, yes, absolutely. 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 But I'm going to quickly say that one of the interesting things about our feelings is that they are unreliable indicators, but they are indicators still. Let me say that again. Our feelings are unreliable indicators, but they are indicators still. The point is, God can use your feeling, even though it doesn't depend on it. So there are times when the mixed feelings are actually calling your attention to something that you need to pay attention to. There are times when they are not, when they are just distractions. So the point is always to, for me, and I am answering this as a believer, I have learned to always go back to ask, what am I supposed to do about the way I'm feeling now? Is this something that is telling me something, or is this something that I need to continue going despite the way I'm feeling? Do you understand? Because there are times when the feeling is just a distraction. You just have to keep going. But that thing is not just something that you look at the feeling and decide. There has to be a conviction somewhere. So my question is, I'm trying to find, even though my feeling is saying this, what is my conviction saying? Is my conviction saying, don't trust the feeling? It's me that you should be looking at. Or is my conviction saying, it is actually me trying to show you something with your feeling? Does that make sense? Do you understand? So, yes, our feelings they are indicators still. That's the truth. They are indicators, but they are not reliable ones. That's the point. They are easily accessible by every kind of thing. God can access it. Your environment can access it. Anything can access it. So you need to understand what is assessing that feeling and what is causing. Do you understand? That's what I mean. And I think your question is very similar to that of Olaide. Do you have any other question? Blessing says, if one is finding it difficult to define oneself, is it okay to divide yourself based on people's commendation or comments? I know we are not meant to do that, but what if people are saying what you are not saying in your life? Blessing, thank you so much for asking this question. Thank you. The way I'm going to answer it, I'm going to answer it based on my experience. And this is me being honest, saying that my answer might be very skewed to my experience. It might not be all there is to it. I don't even think it will be all there is to it. But in my experience, I found that this is one of the reasons why you need appropriate voices over your life. Because there are times where, for whatever reason, it can be because of anything, that some people see some things first before you do it. I experienced that in my life. There were a number of things about my life, in terms of even assignment and all of that, that I felt like very specific voices in my life surfaced, spoke to me, said about me first, before I even began to see them and believe them myself. But I keep using the word specific voices. That's to tell you, this is not an issue of people. It's not people. It's not people. I'm not saying people. I'm saying specific voices. Yes, I like the word that Christiana is using. Appropriate voices. Yes, they are appropriate voices. They are voices that you know as we identify. And this is the reason why everyone needs those kind of voices in their lives. And many times, some of us have them. We just don't discern them. We don't know who they are. We are relating with them based on niceties. So it's your brother. You're just thinking it's my brother. One of the things that God did for me in 2020, I always say it, was to quickly make me realize that my mother was not just my mother, but was also my matriarch. It changed my life. So I started understanding when to relate with her as my mom, but also at the times when to relate to her as someone who was handing over a lineage of grace to me. I started having to understand the difference. Same with my husband. So the point is, so it's not people, it's appropriate voices. And those kind of voices, you need discernment. I can't lie. You are going to need discernment to identify. But maybe if you want to start from the general, you can start from general places, but that can be a little bit confusing. That's my own point, is that there will be appropriate voices who you can see that their words over you are not just, they are not just emotional, but they are also discerning. Please, if you understand what I'm saying, do let me know. Anyway, I'm going to take Clementina question last, like really last. Following up on the question you just answered, an important life to ask is your day life feeling ordinary, or you are beginning to feel unimportant in the grand scheme of things? Yes, most of the time it is you, it is not the day. Yeah, that's the point I'm trying to make. Thank you, Clementina, for saying it that way. It is you, and it is you that we need to fix. It's not necessarily the day. If the Bible says we should carry our everyday life and present it to God, that means to God, our everyday life is good enough to be sacrifices. If you are thinking it's not good enough, it's you that we need to address. Many of the time it's you. It's you. And the funny thing is that if you don't address the you, even on supposed great days, you will still come back to that feeling, because the problem was never about the day. It was you. Anyway, thank you so much, everybody. This has actually been a lot, and we are already 15 minutes late. I really wish that we don't get late anymore. But I hope that, answering these questions has also helped to develop some understandings. I just wanted you guys to, share with me one last thing that you're leaving with. You're going to receive, please do that in the chat. You're going to receive your assignment latest by Monday. Maybe latest by Monday, yes. You receive your assignment, and you receive instructions about what you're supposed to do with your assignment. The point is, we hope that we hope that you carry on this conversation with your peer mentors. The things that are standing out to you. Just general conversation, you can ask them questions. The plan is to ensure that at least you meet them at least once between now and the next time we are going to meet. So your assignment is also going to come with, I think I wanted to recommend a resource this time around. Maybe a few chapters from my book, Driven, because I was thinking about it. Generally, I always like to give Driven as a book, as a pre-resource, even before you come in. But because we didn't do that this time around, I was free in my heart not to design this second one as the first one. So I think some of them will come as maybe post resources, some of these conversations. But more importantly is that you have an assignment where you have questions around how are you thinking about your meaning, what do you know, and all of that you are going to answer for yourself. The answer is really for you. The reason why we want you to submit it is really a nature of accountability, is to ensure that you actually do that. Okay, I'm looking out for what I asked, like, what are you leaving this mentoring call with? What's one thing, at least, or one of the many things that you are leaving this mentoring call with? Please share with me in the chat before we call it a night. Before we call it a night, what are you leaving here with tonight? I'm looking into the chat. I imagine that you're typing. So trying to check something off here so we can say. Purpose is also about who I'm becoming in the process. Any purpose is a journey. Okay. Who am I at my core powers? What I do. Perfect. I don't know if purpose is flexible. Yes. I have to be an active participant in my life. I have to be an active participant in my life. Okay, it is not about what you're doing, but also about who you're becoming. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Shay. I'm trying not to end because I imagine some people are typing. Yes, thank you so much. I'm there with the consciousness of living every day with meaning in mind, not looking down, taking lightly the everyday living. Who I am as a person will influence what I do and everything around me. But the true, that is one of the things I'm living with tonight is knowing what is at the core of my heart. I know my recurring reactions to things people do to me at different points. Okay, it's more about my becoming. My purpose is in my everyday life, Christy. Like they say, life should not just be happening to me. I should be asking appropriate question. Through my journey in finding meaning, I should be an active participant, open and ready for questions of redirection. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much. You're also going to receive a copy of this recording, because I'm sure that a number of things that we have said here, you probably have to sit back again and listen to it again for it to make some sense. I totally know that. And last meaning is at the core of my being. What I do may change from time to time. It's an expression of who I am at my core. The view of my journey, it must not just be happening to me. Thank you so much. This has been such an amazing time. And even me, I'm surprised that I had the energy to do this to the end, because I was actually a little bit tired before we started. I've had a little bit of a busy day. Recognizing appropriate voices in my life and be discerning, knowing them. Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. You guys have been amazing sport. I love how interactive the chat box has been. It's always like that in the Emerging Circle, and I'm really thankful for that. I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. Time to think about all of these things. I hope you have a wonderful evening. I'll see you in 2 weeks, but between that, I'm going to be looking forward to having your assignment, you speaking with your peer mentors. And yeah, if you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to use the group, the community group, to drop your questions. If there are questions, my people will let me know. I promise to respond to them before the next, but maybe not immediately when you send them, but as much as possible before the next call. Thank you so much, everybody, and have a wonderful evening. Good night. Yeah. Bye.